This is World War II Remembered. My life in 3 chapters. My life's 3 chapters is England, South Africa, and the USA. They're the places that I have lived, which I will talk about later. I'm going to tell you my story. My life in 3 chapters: Liverpool, England, Johannesburg, South Africa, and Irvine, California. Chapter 1, Liverpool. I was about 10 years old. A memory of loud wailing noises.
Enemy bombers travel at hundreds of miles an hour. Every town is a target. Any town is a target. This is Nottingham.
MVQ, calling all patrols. Air raid warning, clear all streets and stop incoming traffic. Heading in this direction. ARP personnel should report to their centers without delay. You should take shelter immediately. You still have 18 minutes. Stay on the cover until the all clear is sounded. This is most important. Please take shelter now.
No time now for asking what to do, where to go. No time now for further training and organization. The hour of trial is upon us.
I was about 10 years old. A memory of loud wailing noises. We were all so frightened. When you heard the alert warning, you were to take cover at once. The air raid siren made such a loud noise, I wish I could block it out. The teacher took us underground to the Anderson air raid shelter. I remember long benches with a blackboard at the end. We had to put gas masks on and learn how to breathe so the glass wouldn't steam up while we're learning our tables. We would stay in the shelters until the all clear warning went off, making that loud sound that meant the German raiders had gone. At home at night, we sat in our kitchen. My mom, dad, sister and I. Our house was situated directly on the flight path between the docks and the aerodrome. The docks is where all the ships came in, and the Germans were heading to bomb all the ships, bringing in food. And the aerodrome is the name of an airport. It was called an aerodrome in those days. And our house was in the middle, so when the Germans came over at night, over us, they were looking for the docks or the aerodrome. You could easily hear the difference between the English planes and the deep drone of the German planes. The German planes would drop light to the ground called flares. We would all be in blackout, windows in case the mines went off or blew up. So when they dropped bombs, our windows would stay in place. That means all our windows had like lace net curtains with glue, and the glue was stuck on the glass. So if the bombs came, the glass wouldn't come in the house and hurt you. The German planes would drop light to the ground called flares. We would all be in blackout in case the mines went off or blew up. So when they dropped bombs, our windows would stay in place. My parents would count how many German and English planes flew over our house and took notice of how many English planes returned at night. They used to count the bombers going over, and like 3-4 o'clock in the morning when they'd raided, they'd count how many planes and people that would come home, not bombed, not shot down. It was so scary that to keep our nerves calm, my dad would give us spearmint gum to chew to stop the chattering of our teeth. It was really good. If we were really good and kept our gas masks on, for half an hour he would give us each a piece of chocolate, and that was a treat. I would look forward to when he would turn on the radio at 11 p.m. at night to Radio Luxembourg, where we could listen to Vera Lynn singing. Nights on end we never got undressed or went to sleep. The bombs got so bad that once we were evacuated to Wales for 3 weeks, my sister and I. My parents were so scared that we were going to be bombed, so they had us evacuated. When we got back from Wales, my father decided it was no longer safe at home, and we packed up and tried to see if we could find somewhere to live at a little place called St Anne's-on-Sea, about 50 miles away from Liverpool. When we got there, we knocked on 3 doors and asked if they would take us in, but was told no because we were Jewish. On the 4th door, they finally took us in, where my mother, father, sister and I slept in the same room for 3 years. It got so bad that parents were sending their kids away by ship, and I remember we had to pack up, ready to leave from Liverpool to go to Canada, when 1 week before the torpedo hit the boat, killing 600 children. That was 3 days before my sister and I were getting on that boat to go and live in Canada. We had ration books. I remember we got 10 pennies worth of meat per person per week. I don't know how my mother fed us. I never saw fruit, vegetables, snacks or candy growing up. I was 13 when I stood in the queue for hours to get my first banana. I kept the skin for 1 week. I was at the same school, Dovedale School, that the Beatles attended. We were all kids. I was a little older than they were. I have no photographs of me growing up. We were not allowed to have any film. It was all for the war, as it could be very dangerous. If spies got the film, they could see where you lived. I was so scared they were going to get me. At night I would eat all the skin on my fingers, make them bleed and go to school with band-aids on my 10 fingers. I never told anyone I was Jewish. So much anti-Semitism in England. I was 75 when my husband gave me my first Star of David, which I'm now wearing and never take off. So, I don't know, can you see it? This little star. Oh dear. Out of my back window, I could see the huge silver barrage balloons that the English would send up every night so that the German planes could get caught and tangled up in them. I'll show you what a barrage balloon looks like now. In school, we were told never to pick up anything from the gutters or pavements because the Germans were putting bad things in bottles and milk cartons that would blow up. I used to love walking in the gutters to slush away the water. We had rain every day, grey clouds and no sun. It was always so cold because they turned off the heating every day from 9 to 12 and 2 to 4. The first day I ever got warm was the day I landed in Johannesburg, South Africa, when I was 16 years old. Now, I'll show you pictures. This is what an air raid siren looks like. And this is the one that would go with a wave sound when the Germans were coming, and when they'd gone, it would be a straight wailing noise. This is children coming out of school and going underground. Every child had to, you couldn't go to school if you didn't have your gas mask on your shoulder. If you got to school and you didn't have it, you had to go home and get it. Because this is in case they drop gas and we would all die. This is what the inside of the air raid shelter would look like. Long benches, and I'm going to show you the gas masks. And you'd sit on these long benches, and it was long, I'd say, from here to the door there, and you'd have to learn to wear a gas mask and breathe so you didn't steam it up, otherwise you couldn't see your tables at the end of the room. What did I write here? Sitting in the air raid shelter waiting for the all clear siren to go off. This is, we had it's called a Morrison air raid shelter. If your house, your entrance hall of your house was big enough, you could have a shelter like this. So our front entrance was big enough to put one of these in. And one teacher and 6 kids could come to my house, and we could learn lessons in the afternoon. And when the sirens went off, we all went into here. And that's how we learned in school. This is what a gas mask looks like. And this is, you have to learn how to put it on and learn how to breathe, like shallow breathing, otherwise you can't see out of it. I should read it. This is the type used by children over the age of 5. Right, the German electron incendiary bombs and its effects. The larger German bombers would drop up to 1,000, learning how to put on a gas mask. Kids learning to breathe with a gas mask on. This was my life. Here's kids and parents walking in the street, all with the masks on. And it says here, gas drill. Notice the woman on the right's clothes, gas mask bag, the toddlers' gas masks, and cardboard cases. Look at the children with the little cases, all having to walk around with them on. Here's kids sitting all in a shelter, all with the gas masks on. And here's little kids playing. They didn't know any different. It wasn't like unusual that they should be wearing it because they knew no different. This is what I was talking about when my dad gave us spearmint to eat so we could keep the gas masks on. And that was a famous lady that sang at night, Vera Lynn. She's from years ago. If you can pick up the old records, you'll find them. You'll hear singing. And we used to only get her on at 11 o'clock at night. This one, I'll read it to you first. Kids looking at the board to see where they were being evacuated to. This one is when your parents took you to the station. You looked on the blackboard and you didn't know where you were being sent to until you saw it on the blackboard. So that's how my sister and I went to Wales, because we didn't know we didn't know until we got there where we were going. When I look back now, I think, oh my God, how sad. Evacuation of school children, all with their gas masks on. Here, all the kids going on the train, going away from Liverpool to go somewhere else, to get away from the bombing. Oh, this is the house and road we all lived in for 3 years in St Anne's on the Sea. There were 4 of us in one room for 3 years. Here is a picture of what we call a barrage balloon. In America, I would say it's the equivalent to the Goodyear blimp. But only these things were put up in the field at the back of my house in Liverpool, and at night they were blown up and they went up, and all these wires are steel bars, and if the Germans flew low, they caught them in the wires, so they didn't kill us. But that's what it looked like going up, and this is what it is floating. That's called a barrage balloon. Now, everybody had to have a ration book. You had to ration, you had to register with a shop wherever you felt like. It wasn't like Ralph's, it would be like a little corner grocery store where you would go in and register, and then every week you would get your food from that shop. You couldn't go anywhere you wanted to, because inside here is coupons that they cut out when you buy your bread, and a coupon when you get your butter and margarine and cheese and bacon, and it's all cut out. When you want a pair of shoes, it's cut out. Means you can't get another pair of shoes for a year. That's an identity card you had to walk around with all the time on you. Always had to be on you. That was my very own ID card. That was mine with my name on it and everything. I've still got it to this day. I still remember my number even when I'm so old. There's another one. ID cards, all to carry on with you. Now this is the amount of meat we had per week, per person. 10 pennies worth of meat. Now if you take your fingers, it's like, and that was all we had for the whole week, per person. So when I was doing this for UCI, when I was doing a talk, I went to the butcher and I tried to work out with him how much 10 pennies worth would be, because you don't know what pennies are. Then this is 4 ounces of margarine or 4 ounces of butter. 1 week margarine, 1 week butter. 4 ounces. And the opposite week would be 2 ounces of butter or 2 ounces of margarine. I mean, say, you could put this on one bagel in 1 minute. This had to last the whole week. Then I was only allowed 2 ounces bacon a week. So that's 2 ounces, that's probably like one, just maybe a couple of slices, but I had to try and get a picture of it. This was 2 ounces of cheese per week. One egg every 3 months. 1 egg. Oh. Otherwise we lived on powder eggs, which were vile. So this was the big thing of once in 3 months, an egg. This banana, I was 13. I had never seen one yet. So I was 13 years old before I saw or ate a banana. This is the first picture, a very first photo of me at 13. Nobody was allowed to have pictures. We've got no photographs of my sister or I growing up or anything. This was the very first picture ever. And then this is when I was 6. I was 16 here. I'd gone to South Africa now. So that's the end of my war stories. Now I'll just give you some little notes that I'd made about things. If my feet grew longer in 1 year, my dad would take a razor blade and cut the top of the toes off so my toes could come out of the shoes, because a year hadn't gone by and you couldn't get another pair until you cut the coupons out of that green book. But this is just a little thing saying children in Liverpool during World War II, 2 safety vests. Evacuation began on the 1st of September 1939, 2 days before Britain went to war. Experts said enemy bombers would kill 10,000 people every day. The government wanted children out of the way before the attack started. That's where you see all the kids going on the train and not knowing where you're going to until you get on the station. Between May the 1st and the 8th, 1941, over 7 consecutive nights, German planes dropped 870 tons of high explosive bombs and over 120,000 incendiary bombs, starting fires throughout Merseyside. Merseyside is like part of Liverpool where the docks are, where the boats are. Lord Haw Haw addressed the people of Booty with the words, "The kiss on your windows won't help you," referring to the tape supposed to prevent the flying glass. The curtains flapping from the broken windows led to untrue rumours of white flags and peace. Thousands left their homes and spent the night in the fields. The May Blitz in 1941 took more than 1,500 lives in Merseyside. Hundreds of German bombers came on consecutive nights from May 1 to May 7, with the third night being the worst. On May the 3rd, loaded with 1,000 tons of munitions, caught fire, blew up and destroyed the docks. Pieces of the ship were blasted miles away and caused more damage to the overhead railway. The People's War website has a personal story from the May Blitz, and then showing people cleaning up in Liverpool after those terrible raids. At night, they would, in Liverpool, they would have what they called these great big machines with lights, and these lights would move around all over the place to light up. So if the lights came anywhere near where you lived and the Germans were over you, they could see where you lived. And then they'd throw the bomb, drop bombs. And then during one lot of time when we were evacuated, the one day I went to the station and they'd put, do you know what barbed wire is? What do you call it here?
It's still barbed wire.
Is it still called barbed wire?
Yes.
I was so frightened when I saw that wire on the station that I said to myself, oh, they've come to get me. And that scared the life out of me. But after all that, in my next story, we went to live with my parents in South Africa, where it was a whole different life. But I hope you enjoyed this too, as much as I could take myself back to talking as a 10-year-old. So I tried, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you.
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see.